It's not just us. And I'm learning that everyone is kind of trying to rethink their sales structure and their teams and how to convert.
Yeah.
And so the last few months, I've really been focused on that middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel process. Just that's the don't do that. Don't just think about the top. You have to really think about your process and everything that can happen and all the ways you can support the sale all the way to conversion.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Don't Do That podcast. I am your host, Kelly Waltrich, and I am so excited today. I have with me Michelle Winkles. She is partner and chief marketing officer at Mission Wealth. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Guys, I'm really excited for today's conversation. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know that I've had lots of entrepreneurs, lots of CEOs. And today, it's straight from my own heart, I have a CMO and marketing leader in the thick of it at a very large RIA, trying to figure out every day what marketing skill sets, how marketing skill sets need to evolve, how team dynamics need to evolve, how digital needs to evolve. So she's deep in it, and she is figuring it out, and one of the top minds, I think, in RA marketing. So really excited to have you, Michelle. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much. That is such a great compliment. Yeah, definitely in the trenches, but excited to talk about it and happy to go back and forth on this because this is a very important position that I'm in. And I know that you know that because you're working with so many CMOs today.
Yes. All right. So tell us a little bit about your role and your firm, just to help our listeners understand your frame of reference.
Yeah, Mission Wealth is a national RIA. We are currently, serving clients all across the U.S. We are now at about $14 billion in assets under management. We have almost 200 team members on our team today, and we have over 35 locations across the U.S. We serve all high net worth individuals, and we are growing fast.
Okay, Michelle, so you are passionate about the journey to digital within your firm and everything it's taken to get from where you started to where you are, all the learnings along the way. So I know that that's a lot. Like that's a full mouthful, right?
Yeah.
So maybe start by giving everybody a sense of the channels that you are using and sort of the program that you have inside of Mission, and then some of the learnings that you've come away with. We could do hours on this. I know.
Yeah, we got to fit this into a 30-minute podcast.
I know.
Okay. Well, I think where to start is to think about at an RIA firm, all the different growth channels that there are, right? And marketing supports all of those growth channels. One of the newer growth channels is digital. I guess it's always been around, but it hasn't been as much of a focus as it is today.
Yep.
We think about the type of leads that come in from these different channels. There's B2B, right? There's custodian referrals, client referrals, COI referrals, and then there's M&A, and you obtain clients from those firms that you acquire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then digital is its own baby. I mean, there's not as much trust and credibility from this lead as there is from the other channels.
Right.
So there's a lot more marketing that goes into it, right? There's a lot of things that you have to do to build that trust and credibility and to capture their attention and make them choose you. And so I've been tasked over the last few years to really build up this growth channel. We believe it's very important to have multiple growth channels at our firm and have leads come in. You cannot rely on just one. And I know this was a full topic that you spoke about with John Wernz a few episodes ago. Don't just rely on one growth channel. You got to rely on many. So we do believe that digital can be successful if you set it up the right way. And so I think one of the most important things to do is make sure you have several things. You want to have the team, the dollars, the time, the capacity, and the patience to build up this channel. And so when I say that, you really need to first think about your funnel and all the different ways that the leads are going to come in, right? And then how you're going to get their attention. So that's marketing, right? That's really where it has always been, as lead gen, brand awareness, selling your firm, building the collateral, the tools, your website, all those kind of things. And that's really where we were at several years ago. And today, you can't just rely on that and let marketing stand there.
Right.
You have to think about the full funnel, the top, the middle, and the bottom. And when I think about my don't do that, and I know that's your next question, like, well, what's your don't do that, Michelle? It's don't run marketing without sales alignment, because I truly believe that sales needs to know what marketing is doing and understand all the work that goes into getting these leads so that they find them just as important as these other growth channels.
Yep.
The other big lesson is a sales advisor for one channel is not going to be as strong as a sales advisor for the other. So, one thing that we've started to realize we need is a business development advisor for digital only and have that
Mhm.
be under marketing. Someone,
Love
and it's a
that.
unicorn. I'm looking for them today, and we want to have many of these.
Yeah.
But it needs to be someone that knows advice, that understands marketing, that is great at sales,
Hmm.
that can hook that lead from the first phone call, sell them on your firm, relate to them, understand what their needs are, qualify them properly, hold that intro, and keep the conversation going almost all the way through to the sale.
Not an
Um,
easy gig that you are looking to fill for sure.
no, it's not. But I know you're out there somewhere.
Yeah. Um,
It's always been kind of a split role, right? There's the BDRs who call and chase the leads and
yep.
pre-qualify them and then hand them to sales. But we really believe that digital sales is unique, and we can talk more about that. But
Yeah, for everybody that's listening, before we started this conversation, I had mentioned to Michelle that the way that I'm thinking about the funnel and the way that I'm talking to intentionally prospects is that marketers are owning so much more of the funnel, and I think that that's a
mm,
perfect example as to why, especially on the digital side,
mm,
somebody with a marketing mind needs to take a digital lead so much farther than maybe any other types of leads that you mentioned.
yeah, yeah, I feel like we've done a really great job at getting leads. There's so many ways you can get leads. You have
Right,
money, you could just buy them, right?
right,
But
right.
you need to think about who you're buying them from and how you like the tools that they have for you to really truly hone in on what kind of clients you want. Because you can buy leads, you can create campaigns, you can, you know, do so many things to get leads. But if you don't handle them properly, you're wasting your time and money,
Yep.
right?
It's so easy to waste your time and money. So, Michelle, I'm just going to take this from the frame of reference from the agency perspective. I just had a friend of mine at an RIA come to me and say, "Hey, we want to start digital. We're ready. We're doing this." And I'm like, "Okay." And I know this firm very well, so I'm like, "All right, I hear you." I was like, "I want you to go out. Thanks for coming to me, but I want you to go out and get a couple of proposals. Just go do that, and then come back to me."
Hmm.
So they did that, and they came back to me, and I looked at the proposals. This was a good exercise for them, and it was an interesting exercise for me, and I sat down and I said, "Okay, so tell me, like, what you see here." And they're like, "Well, this one says we're gonna get this many leads with this amount of money. This one says this many leads without this amount of money." And then I just, like, launched into it, Michelle. I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay, well, I'm glad that's what you got from those proposals, but here we go. Here's what you actually need to be thinking about, and here's what you actually need to be asking these folks." I was like, "So nowhere in this proposal is anybody saying to you that they know anything about your business and your buyer, the end consumer, and what it's gonna take to get to them. They have no idea the asset levels or the minimum fees that you guys have internally to know what type of person that you're actually trying to get to and what it's going to take. They haven't given you any information about the volume of searches in your demographic, your geographic regions where you're trying to go after. They've given you no sense of cost per lead in those areas. On top of that, these agencies, they don't create the lead magnets. They don't create the nurtures. They don't get into your HubSpot. They don't create the landing page. And like, you are so
Well,
far from
yeah.
understanding like what this is going to take. Like,
Ah,
so here's the list of things. Like, here's the list of things that you need to talk to everybody internally. And this is only the starting point. Because then to your point, it's like, okay, so once a lead comes in, what are we doing with this? Who is calling them? What is their, we
mhm,
all agreed at one of the roundtables that it's 15 touch points minimum, right? Like,
mhm.
who is doing that? What are those touch points? Is it round robin? Are you giving them to someone who's most likely to close? So anyway, to your point, it's like if Michelle and I can give you any advice today, it's like digital is a beast. And if you are going to do it, you need to be well informed, right? I
Mhm.
mean, and I think you need to understand the process from start to finish before you start having conversations about who's going to help you execute, because a lot of people get one piece of it right. And to your point, time, money, energy, effort, it's out the window.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Everything you said, I can fully relate to. That has been my world for the last few years.
Yes, yes.
Um, we have such a great team, and I'm so fortunate for that. I have a team of 5 at Mission, and we all are a part of the digital process. Every one of the team members has their own segment they're really responsible for supporting, which is, I know, a little bit different of a marketing setup than others, but I feel like it gives them a great path for growth.
Yeah,
And they can work with our champions at our firm to learn more about how to support M&A or B2B or, digital. I did have one individual just focused on digital. I realized, wow, this is a team effort. We need a martech person thinking about how all of these programs flow together and feed the
yes.
funnel. And I know HubSpot, you guys are fans of. We use Pardot. It was called
Hmm.
Pardot, but a part of Salesforce.
Yep.
And there is so much there to try to understand and learn. So just the education side around how to use all these programs and how they flow together is its own thing. And then there's so many great tools out there, and thinking about how you can automate them and learn them and optimize them. And they're continually evolving. And now there's all these AI
Yeah.
components and things like
Yep.
that. So to stay ahead of what's out there, like that's been a big goal of mine and something I've been
Yep.
focusing on, learning all of these programs that are available to us and thinking about how they fit into our tech stack, right? And there's so many things out there and you can say, "Oh, this is great. Yeah, we need that." But do you have the capacity to use it, to
Right.
learn it, to manage it, to keep it up to par? So that's
Yes.
another thing there.
Yes, a whole nother thing. Tina and I have a webinar later today on the massive amount of AI tech tools that we're vetting, and the ones that we like and the ones that we don't like and why. And it's intense to try to keep up with all of it. And you know that only half of them are going to be in existence a year from now. So you also
I
have
know.
to play that game.
I know that's one of those things everyone talks about. Oh, this we have this, and then oh, well, it's not really ready when you go
Yeah.
to get it or learn about it, or it's not fully flushed, and that's a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some good things and there's interesting things and there's some things to learn. I I feel like my career at eMoney and Orion was based on the inbound process. Like I was an early adopter of HubSpot. I loved everything about it, the
Mhm.
gated content, all these things. And now it's all out the window, right? It's all out the window and you have to learn a completely new marketing motion. So we're trying to stay ahead of that, like fiercely and intensely every day here unintentionally to make sure that we can help firms think through the new ways of client acquisition.
I think that is so great, and I'm signed up for that webinar, so I look forward to it. I've actually been asked to speak on AI a few times this year at different conferences, and I'm like, "Well, I'm not the expert. I can just tell you how I'm using it and some things I've learned along the way." And it's just amazing. I'm so excited about AI, and I wish I had more time to learn it, but if you're not using it now, you definitely need to start. You need to just start using it simply in your
Yep.
day-to-day life and then think about how it applies to your role, especially
Totally.
in marketing, because AI is so huge with marketing right now. There are so many different tools out there that you can use to make your job
So much easier.
simpler. Yeah,
Yes.
so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you said I'm not an expert. I don't believe when anybody says they're an expert yet. There's just no way. Like it's too new. There's too
Yeah.
many things. So I Dave Gerhardt, he's like a B2B marketing influencer. He wrote in a LinkedIn post the other day that like there's just you don't have to be an expert. There's no experts yet. So do your best, like you just said, to figure out what your problems are, what you need to streamline and the best solutions in this moment to do so. And it's gonna evolve and it's gonna change and you just gotta try to keep up. But that's
Yeah.
marketing in general, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta try to keep up.
I'm always trying to keep up. I wish I could do more. I wish we had more time in the day. But yeah,
Same.
you do need to have an eye open to what's out there. That's very important.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
going to conferences to meet with vendors for that reason, to kind of learn, how can you help me? Not be scared to walk by those booths and get stopped, and just be open-minded to continuing to learn what's out there and how things are changing.
Yeah. I think that's really smart. So before we get into your don't do that you sneak previewed, anybody that's approaching digital, give them like a couple of key tips, because this whole industry is trying to get into it. It's a messy moment for digital,
Mhm.
in my opinion, based on the firms that I talk to and what I see every day. Give them like your top tips for starting.
For starting, I'd really just, one thing I did was don't be afraid to ask other leaders what they're doing.
Yeah.
Learn like what worked for you, what didn't work for you. Be open to having conversations and cross sharing. I think that is just where I started.
Yep.
You can use AI to ask, hey, I work at a RIA firm and we're starting digital. Like, what are the first steps? Like, you could use AI for advice.
Right.
But for me, what I did is really just researched what the marketing funnel looks like. And I built out the stages, just think about the process, how they come in, the different channels, like what are your goals for each level of those, for each one of those stages in the funnel. And
Yep.
when you build out those goals, then you need to think about what tools you have that can help you get those goals. My biggest tip is having a really strong CRM and marketing automation program. You're really going to
Mm-hmm.
build everything in that.
Yep.
Trying to do everything manually is just going to be overwhelming and you're not going to feel organized. So you definitely want to have a good marketing automation program. I know HubSpot's great. We might
Mm-hmm.
be transitioning over to that one day, but that's a really big project and I'm
Yes.
nervous about that.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, having a really great automation program, making sure you have the team. Like, do you realistically have the people to help build something like this? And start small, I think. Don't try to do everything. Don't try to um, have paid campaigns and run ads on social and buy leads from these companies when you're not going to be managing them or be able to manage that lead flow properly. So you just need to think about those things. I mean, there's so many. I could just ramble on,
I
but maybe we
know.
could touch on the sales side, which is what is the main
Yeah.
don't do that, is don't run marketing without sales alignment. So,
Yes. All right. So she gave it up. What we're not doing today is we're not running marketing without sales alignment. And I'm very passionate about this too. I feel like
mhm,
I've talked a lot about this topic, and I feel very lucky having worked in organizations with really great sales leaders that understood modern marketing, but that is few and far between in our space, I
mhm,
realize. And so there's a lot of work to be done there. And like you said earlier,
mhm,
Michelle, a lead coming from digital is a totally different beast. Um, I have lots of conversations with prospects about that. I say to them, do you feel like you can really convert someone that wasn't handed to you from your brother's friend or your COI or your uncle or like your sister? Like, like if it's not a
mhm.
referral, do you feel like you can take someone from a colder position to close? And it's an undertaking.
Yeah. Marketing, we always thought, okay, marketing is responsible for getting the leads and sales is responsible for closing them. It sounds so simple, right?
Uh-huh.
But, over the past few years, I've just been so laser focused on the top of the funnel efforts and building the awareness and generating the leads and running the campaigns. And it worked and leads came in. But the mistake was that success to thinking that success ended with a booked intro, right? Because I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, look, we got 100 booked intros. Yay. Well, how many of those closed? Well, I don't have control of what sales is doing. We're growing, right? Like our firm, look at our growth. It's insane. It's doing great. Well, the conversion on digital is not that great. I mean, I've seen so many articles out there and it's not just us, right? It's everyone. What is it, like 4 to 6 or 4 to 8%
If
of your
firms are
leads
lucky.
convert
If
if you're good, if you're
Uh-huh.
like lucky,
Yep.
right? And so I believe we were really successful last year, like with converting, but we could be so much better. And looking at it, it's like, well, we had really great lead gen flow. We had really great a high amount of intros booked. It kind of dropped at held and then it really dropped at opportunity and it really dropped at closed. I'm like, well, that's a sales problem. I'm like, well, that's a sales problem. I'm like, well, as CMO these days, like our roles are evolving and it's not a sales problem. It's a marketing problem. You're bringing in these leads. We need to think about why digital's not closing.
Right.
And I'm sure this is an issue with a lot of firms. like I said, it's not just us, and I'm learning that everyone is kind of trying to rethink their sales structure and their teams and how to convert.
Yep.
And so the last few months, I've really been focused on that middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel process. Just that's the don't do that. Don't just think about the top. You have to really think about your process and everything that can happen and all the ways you can support the sale all the way to conversion.
Yep.
And so that's really relooking at your funnel. And we've rebuilt our funnel so many times. And I'm ready to rebuild it again. And I hope my team isn't mad at me when I change it again. But yeah, there's just so many things to think about, but it's actually fun. And this is the fun part of my job is where you can really be creative and say, how can we get in front of them and how can we stand out? Right.
Yep.
One of the new programs we're rolling out is a testimonial program. And that's going to help us build that online credibility. I've been listening to so many different podcasts and seeing a lot of articles on how to show up in AI search because
Mm-hmm.
that's the next new medium
Yep.
for lead gen, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Answer engine optimization and testimonials are huge and media is huge. I'm learning you want a lot of stuff about you all over the internet, right? And that shows you're a credible answer to
Mm-hmm.
someone's inquiry, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so testimonials, we're really focusing on that and reviews to business profiles on Google and Bing.
Yep.
Those are just, I think, two of my big tips is focus on your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Reputation management is marketing, right?
Right.
And all the places you show up. And so that's one thing. And digital really needs that credibility because when people are searching for you, yeah, SEO is the old way of being found, but now we really need to think about SEO and AEO.
Yes, 100%. So let's go back to sales and marketing working well together. So
Yeah.
I feel like RIAs are taking a page out of a SaaS marketing playbook because this is how SaaS has been operating for a long time, and it's really exciting to see. And I feel like um you know going about creating a relationship with your sales team in a way that is mutually beneficial is, like you said, so important. So I want let's both give some tips in terms of how people can think about that. I know for me, Michelle, what worked really well. So Kyle Hyatt was my counterpart at Orion for a lot of years, and we had a pretty sophisticated lead gen engine, and we had SLAs for each other. Right. Like, so
Mhm.
I would say to him, and this is just some things for folks who are listening to think about, but I would say to him, like, okay, my commitment to you is that I'm going to get you X amount of opportunity, your sales team X amount of opportunities. They are going to come in at a lead score of X or higher, which means they've met a really important threshold on the marketing side. They are going to fit within the ICP or get weeded out prior to reaching your firm or your team.
Mhm.
In return, what I need from you is a response time of X. Like, as soon as somebody hits your desk, you need to turn around and you need to respond quickly. But not only quickly, you need to have the right person respond with the right skills and expertise to handle that particular conversation. So
Mhm.
if it was billing or reporting or whatever it was at the time at Orion, like, we needed an expert because a lot of people make the mistake of putting their most junior people up front, right? The
No.
BDRs and the SDRs, they're
Right.
always like the youngest, but really that is the most important conversation you're going to have because they're either going to continue to talk to you or they're not. And
100%.
so,
Yeah.
and then SLAs around, okay, based on the money that we're spending, not just marketing is spending, we need a certain conversion rate at every stage of the funnel.
Mhm.
So you need to stay accountable to me in terms of X amount percent moving to this stage, X amount percent moving to this stage, X amount moving to this stage, and X amount converting. And if they're not at any point, I need the communication back to me to be so precise in terms of what is going wrong. Like, what do you need? What
Mhm.
did we not nail? What was the question we missed? What was the objection?
Mhm.
So that we can make sure the next time someone similar that goes through that funnel has a different experience.
That communication and that feedback is so important, and it's very key. And if
It's
that's
and it
lacking, how do you know, you know?
and it's very missing from most firms.
100%.
Yes. Yes.
I've learned that as well. It's missing. So how can you fix that? How can you hold them accountable? And I think that's where I'm thinking about automation and where like engagement programs
Yep.
can help. the
So,
tasks to
yeah,
those people that are accountable so you can see if they've completed those tasks and it pops up in front of them, right? 'Cause people aren't going to remember their kids, and they're going to prioritize the low hanging fruit for them. Sometimes digital isn't that low
right.
fruit.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, serving up tasks. And I also think, um, you know, at the end of the day, so between me and Kyle, just using us as an example too, because we got to a good place, but not without a lot of work and a lot of trials. But um, it was, if you want to move somebody out of the sales funnel back to marketing because they're not ready, you
Hmm.
need to have a good reason. There's no like, this person isn't a good lead without giving us a reason, because we'll
Hmm.
go to war over that. If I
Hmm.
see there's 100 leads with no good objection reason and I can't put them back well into a campaign to start warming them up again,
Hmm.
then that's where we come together, because that means that you're not collecting the right amount of information to make everything that we're doing better.
Right. I know. Yeah. We use Salesforce, which is a great CRM. And when you say sales funnel and marketing funnel, I think at least on the digital lead side, it's all one. There's
Yeah.
one funnel for the digital. So I had built out with my team, the whole marketing and sales funnel there, but we didn't think again of the middle and the bottom, like all the automations there. We had built all the great automations and tasks and follow-ups and cadence and drip email campaigns and everything for the top. We got them all of that intro booked. And then I come to learn some of those intros weren't held or they didn't show and they emailed them once and it's been 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, we have a problem. It's very clear why this conversion rate is down. Well, how do we fix it? So thinking about those kind of things, you know, um, what kind of tactics do we need to create? This is where marketing really steps in to support sales. But if you don't have that feedback from sales, like, oh, they didn't show. Okay, and then what did you do? Or they did show, and now I'm waiting them for them to upload docs to get to this stage. Well, did you book that next meeting? Did you give them a deadline? Did you make him feel how did you ensure confidence in our firm for it to be the best one, They
Yep.
all have their own processes, and some are really great, some are not, but you have to kind of build that for them, I think, and give them the criteria. This is what you need to do and make sure they're trained. One of the things that I've needed to do is meet with those lead advisors one-on-one and explain, "This is
Yep.
how we're getting them. This is what you should do. What are you doing now? Where can we meet in the middle? How can we support you?" So, again, communication is so key.
Yeah. I think for every marketing leader out there, a good conversation to sit down and have with your advisors or your sales leader or whatever that looks like in your firm
Mhm.
is to say that the marketing budget is ours, like ours together. So if
Mhm.
we want more money and we want more resources so that we can bring you more leads, you have to absolutely hold up your end of the bargain in closing as many of them as possible. Because I think it's so easy for sales to be like, oh, a digital lead, I'm going to put that at the bottom of the list. It's at least likely to convert. But if you flip the script and make them realize, like, okay, well, this well is going to dry up because if we can't show an ROI, then we're going to
Mm.
put less dollars towards digital. You're going to get less at bats. You're going to make less money. The firm is going to do less. There's like a whole chain reaction.
Yeah,
So I've always tried to like have conversations with marketing leaders around like, hey, this is our budget to get this firm wins, and so let's jointly figure out how we're going to get the highest and best ROI for the dollars that we spend.
right. I agree, and one thing you mentioned earlier too is who's that front person? That's the first person that a lead is talking to. You you're right. People do make the mistake of putting their junior, executives or, specific, type of BDR in front of them, and they're because they're the ones chasing the calls. There's a lot of things. They're texting, calling, emailing, a
Right.
lot, and you said something like 11 or 12 touch points. But when they get them on the phone, what's their script? What are they saying? Are they trained? um, on how to speak to them, how to properly qualify. Even
Right.
that, just are they qualifying properly? Do they understand what they're saying? That's
Right.
where I say we've created this really great role called a BDA, where they know they're an advisor, but maybe they don't want to manage clients anymore. Or maybe they just want to do sales and they care about the growth of the firm and they can speak to our firm and how we can help that person and a lot of the time, leads will go into their full story, and that junior person has no idea how to respond to them, and they're not gonna give them advice, so it could turn
Right.
off that lead. So there's so many little things that can happen,
Yep.
and they can ask about our firm and all of our services, and if you're not trained properly to speak to that, then that's a big loss. You may have paid a lot of money for that lead, or you may have put in a ton of hours building campaigns to get that lead, and you just lost them.
Right.
So,
It
you
so
need
it's so spot on.
yeah, you need the right people in the right seat to
Yeah.
handle these
And
things.
those investors or those advisors, whoever you're marketing towards at your firm, they're pulling up that person that they're talking to on LinkedIn. And if they
Mhm,
see that they have zero experience to be
mhm,
talking to them about the
mhm,
topics, then that's another turnoff too. They're not
mhm.
people are digitally savvy. They're thinking about these things. They want to know who are they getting, who are they talking to? And are they in a position to provide them with all the information that they need to make a decision?
Yeah, and you need to think about speed to lead. I mean, I know we hear it all the time, but it is so important. And
Mhm.
especially, like, if we're talking about purchasing leads and you choose a provider that's like a 3-to-1 match, they're matching this lead with 3 people, those
Yep.
firms are gonna get to them faster if you're not on it. So you want
Yes.
someone in that seat that is responsive and quick to get to them. And I've seen a lot of different tactics too. One of the biggest learnings is, how are you getting to them? Are you meeting them where they're at, right? Do they wanna be
Right.
called right away? Do they wanna be texted? Are they gonna read your email? I feel like email is down. Like, people are so bombarded with emails. We do track the method that got them to book, and we do see that from phone calls. Phone calls is definitely the top method, but
Mhm.
texting has definitely increased. And how you build in maybe a text automation into your follow-up, that can be your speed to lead answer. Like, you're texting them right away. We see more response with a text before a call, which is
Yep.
interesting.
I
So the
love it.
method you're using to follow up, how you're chasing, who's chasing, those are just huge, huge things to think about. Very
Yeah.
important.
And guys, listen, listeners, we're not trying to scare you. It probably sounds scary when we're not trying to scare you, because digital acquisition is like becoming a not nice to have. Like, you have to be doing it. So we're just trying to make you realize that it needs to just be it needs to be well thought out. And if you're not
Mhm.
positioned well to do that, there are plenty of partners out there that are, and there are people like Michelle that you can bounce ideas off of, firms like mine that you can come to and will execute on your behalf. So there's so many ways to do it, but we want you to go into it with your eyes wide open and know that you're not going to start paying for some leads and all of a sudden your firm's going to blow up tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. Um, Another thing, Michelle, I just want to talk about is, um, I had a client. I'm just going to give you a scenario.
Mhm.
I had a client who, and I love you in case you're listening and know who you are, but I had a client who, um, came to us and said, after 6 months, this digital lead acquisition isn't working. So, and I can generally tell up front if that's the type of person I'm dealing with, if I know. So it's all good. I saw it coming my way. This isn't working. And I said back to them, all right, let's talk about that. Let's understand what's not working, like you and I have been talking about. And I said, your website traffic is up 780%. Your contact us form is up 77%. Um, your downloads are up, I don't even know what percent it was. It was like 1,000%. And you've gotten, I think, 372 people to come through your ads, identify themselves as having your asset minimum, and ask to talk to you.
And it's not working?
So what's not working? So this is a challenge that I have a lot, a
Yeah.
lot, a lot, a lot. So Michelle, I want you to give listeners, because I think more often than not, this is the norm, like what you do, what you would feel or do and act upon in that situation.
Well, I would look at the data, right? So I think it's very important to always look at the data, have some kind of dashboard. We've built, I think, 20 marketing dashboards in Salesforce,
Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
one for each of our channels in under digital, right? One for our sales marketing advisor to use to have insight into where I'm at and stay organized. But what I would do is look at, where is the drop off. I mentioned earlier, and I don't know if this was in a conversation with you or on this call, but we saw, tons of leads come in. We got a lot of our intros booked. It started to drop off at held, and then it really dropped off at conversion and opportunities, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that to me is looking at data and saying, well, this is dropping off, and diving into why,
Yep.
going into those leads and saying, what happened? And really, it was the sales. It was not that they're not good sales advisors, because we have great sales advisors, but it's the process that they need to follow up, and how marketing's supporting that. And again, that's the middle and bottom of the funnel that we hadn't honed in on until this last year. Um, so what one should do is think about that and dive into each layer there. So how do we get them to attend that intro? Come up
Yep.
with your tactics, maybe build out an automation around that. I've seen some other ones out there that are pretty interesting, like, oh, we're going to send them a digital coffee gift card. Like,
Mm-hmm.
here's a coffee, like, to prepare for our meeting. Sending them things that they're probably thinking about up to that meeting. What are the top questions to ask the advisor during this intro? Um, Maybe just showcasing videos so they can put a face to a name of who they're going to meet with. Using video is really huge, helps build
Mm-hmm.
that trust. Maybe sharing some reviews or testimonials from clients that are like them.
Yep.
So you're thinking about like how to get them to be confident to attend that meeting, right?
Yes.
Holding them accountable. That's just one example. The other would be, okay, well, they're not these intros are being held, but then nothing's happening. So you need to dive into your data and say, like, okay, well, where is it not happening? Why is this rate down? Go into those situations and look at, like, what happened? Was there a follow up or not? Build up maybe a proposed follow up,
Yep.
and start there. I know there's a lot more I can go into, but
All right, I'm gonna lob one more scenario at you, and then we can wrap it up.
okay.
Okay, so you have asset limits, right, for firms, like, or AUM thresholds, and it doesn't matter how good you are at digital. You heard it here first. You are always going to end up with people who don't meet that minimum, whether they self-identify as something else,
Mhm.
as having met the minimum, or it's just how digital works. You're gonna end up with people that fall outside of your geographic region. You're gonna end up with people who don't meet that threshold. What is a firm like yours doing with those folks?
Oh, interesting. We do have a lot of those. Luckily, we did just launch a new program called Mission Forward, working with financial. That is a next gen app that can serve those that don't meet our minimums. So now we don't turn them away.
I love it.
We hold our discovery call and we hand them to our business development advisor to assess what service is best for them. We don't tell them about the app right off the bat because maybe they don't want to just use an app, they might want more. So what we found is just treating everyone the same, getting them to that intro and fully qualifying them in that intro, and then suggesting the service that's best for them. But before we had the app, we would let them know about our minimum. You could cross refer them to an FC, which does build a great relationship. So
Hmm.
like Fidelity or Schwab, you can suggest working with them or a specific FC that's in their area or like their region. Or you can recommend advisors that offer one-time fees or such. So I think it's
Great.
always good to just have a good list, a backup list of who they could work with if you're not the right solution.
Perfect. That's great. Yeah, we have a couple of clients who are doing exactly what you're doing, and I love it. I mean, you have to build it's a whole nother program to move
Mhm,
people through to an app and
mhm.
make sure that it's a whole nother world and a whole nother effort. But I think that that's nice to make sure that people are served in some way. If they're coming through and asking for advice, you don't want to turn them away.
A lot of the digital leads we get are people looking for a one-time plan, or they don't want a management fee. So that's a challenge. But yeah, we will try to refer any one-time planners that we know of in the meantime.
Yeah, that's great. All right, guys. Michelle and I could talk forever. And if you want to continue this conversation, we'll see you at Future Proof at the CMO Collective in just a couple of weeks. But just as a reminder, what we are not doing today is we are not operating marketing in a silo. We're making sure that it's a very well-oiled sales and marketing combination to get to the best results for your firm. Michelle, anything you want to leave our listeners with before we sign off?
No, just if you're interested in the CMO Collective, we can have these kind of conversations. It's not just at Future Proof. You can actually sign up, to be a part of it and be in the know. We have digital meetings as well, and we're always open to hearing what kind of topics that you want to hear about, and we can expand on them. So don't
Yeah.
be shy. Say hi. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and Kelly, we want to
Yeah.
be your friend.
Yes, we do. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Appreciate the time, Michelle. It was really wonderful to have you. And we'll see you back here soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to be notified when new episodes become available. And please consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. This podcast is sponsored by Intentionally, a financial services growth engine design consultancy and agency. If you want to learn more, please email me at kelly@growintentionally.com. Thank you again for listening, and check back to hear what we're not doing next.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kelly Waltrich. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.